I tell clients, if you're going to engage in this industry that's already under a tremendous amount of scrutiny already, then you need to be careful on how you engage with clients. And if you have clients that come day 4 and they're adamant and they're not going to be good fits, then take care of the client. Just get rid of them, right? But on a case by case basis, I'm not telling you you have to always give a refund, but I do have clients that if their clients come back for any reason at all, they're upset, they've built it into the model, they just refund the client. You got a client that is canceling 5 days after they purchased, just cancel them. But if you got a client that bought 2 months ago, I would have them sign a release. Now, why this is important is because you're getting them to waive all future and past liability in return for a full refund because you're outside the legal requirement to give them a refund. Here's the key though. I love these agreements and I like to have them on every one. But if you ask for a non-disparagement clause in there, there's a dozen cases the FTC has brought in about these type of releases when they have non-disparagement clauses. You're going to take a positive, which is getting a full release, and turn it into a huge negative with the commission.
Welcome to yet another episode of Don't Say That. We're going to talk about advertising compliance, and back today is our very own compliance attorney. Greg is back after a couple weeks hiatus. Greg, what's up?
How are you doing on it? I'm
I'm
good.
good. I'm good too. All right, so today we're going to talk about refunds, conditional refunds, and guarantees, right? So a lot of this going around right now online. So guarantees, people are like, hey, if you don't generate 1,000 leads a week for you, you don't pay. Or conditional refunds, like, we'll give you a refund, but you have to have done this to qualify for a refund. Or just generally refunds, right? Like how important are refunds to the regulatory bodies and all of that. So we're going to get into that today. It's come up a lot. Listen, we're paying attention. I'm paying attention to your comments and questions, things you're posting here on YouTube, there in our Facebook group for Expert Scale. So ask away, and I try to get them in front of Greg as often as I can. Now, an update on this book. We're burning away, all right? The book is in Greg's hands. He's killing it right now. So we're on like the 4th write of it. All I can tell you is this could be a damn good book. So right now, it looks like it's pretty realistic to say by end of March, it's going to come out. Don't just buy 1, buy 10, buy 20, because you want to make sure everyone in your marketing, sales, contractors, employees, they all need to have this book. It's going to be an amazing checklist for you. We also have our academy coming out. That's going to be the Compliant Marketing Model Academy, which is going to show you how to do marketing compliantly. And of course, we're running our free marketing assessments. We've already had a few of you take us up on this. So go to naoac.com/audit. That stands for National Association of Advertising Compliance, something Greg and I are working on. naoac.com/audit. If you'd like to sign up for a high-level free marketing assessment where we'll tell you if we see a lot of problems or not. And if we do see a lot of problems, we'll write you a custom proposal to get a full marketing audit done by us. All right, now that I got the promo stuff out of the way, Greg, let's jump right in, man. You see this all the time. You were talking about it before we got started. I'll just start with how important are refunds, and what, as an attorney, do you tell your clients when it comes to the topic of refunds?
Um, so when you're dealing with refunds, you really have to look at a federal and a state law. There was a case the FTC brought in August of 2023 that was, or maybe a couple months earlier, so July or so of 2023. It was against a marketing company, a kind of a seminar company out of Florida, Gondolas. I'm horrible at Spanish, but it's FTC versus Gondolas. And in there, what they were doing is a live event company. They were selling their 2 underlying products were real estate training and Amazon Walmart store management training. The FTC brought a suit, got a full asset freeze against them because they failed to give, under the FTC cooling period, an appropriate 3-day right of rescission. And so the FTC, citing that as a violation, went in and froze all of their assets. That was the primary reason to start with. And then everything else that we always look at cases where they look at the false and unsubstantiated claims and everything else there too. But because, remember, FTC, because of AMG Capital Management, can't do asset freezes on live event seminars if they're not telesales, but they can if they're violating other provisions of the act. Not giving the 3-day right of rescission, or what they call the 3-day cooling period, which is by midnight of the 3rd business day after the transaction, you can ask for your money back. By not doing that, FTC got a full asset freeze against them. What does that mean for most of our clients? They may say, well, I'm not a live event seminar company, and so the federal cooling period doesn't apply to me. But I've pulled, and one of the things we're going to have as a bonus on some of the products and services we have is we've done all of the research and we've pulled the state laws for every state that is available about what type of cancellation policies you have to have per state, because every state, in addition to the federal government, has their own rights to cancel a contract. And in those states, they've adopted that federal cooling period that are for live events or in-person meetings. They've applied them now to telecommunications, which are telephone and Zoom calls and webinars. And so regardless if you're offering a SaaS or you're offering some product or service or informational product and service over the telephone or Zoom, you need to understand what those rights of rescission and understanding the state in which you're principally located in and the state that you're marketing in. Because if you don't know those two states, you could violate the law without doing it. And a lot of these states, like in California, if you don't give a 3-day right of rescission under their telemarketing law, or if you happen to qualify as their Seller Assisted Marketing Plan Act, if you don't give that right of rescission in there, it opens the door for a class action where they can come and bring in a class of customers for California could sue you for violating that law on behalf of all the customers that you had sold to in that state. So one, you've got to understand there are federal laws that say you have to give a right of refund, and there are state laws too. So I always advise clients to give a 3-day right of rescission because it's an absolute defense. Now, some states do have longer rights, Michigan, Ohio. So you got to understand that there are some other states that have that too. But the threshold is right of rescission. That means anytime within that period of time they request a refund, they get it. Now, does that mean you couldn't have a conversation with the client to see if they would like to extend it? Sure. You can have a conversation with the client and see if they really are okay not canceling at that time. But I would hesitate and advise this as well, that even when you have that conversation, if they come back a day or two later, I would just get rid of the client. Just do it so you don't run amok about it.
So I want to run through some scenarios.
Yes.
Let's do this.
Yes.
Right?
Let's scenario.
So I have a book funnel. So someone just bought our book. Don't say that.
Yep.
And I've said no refunds on the book. Once it's shipped to you, and you no refunds. Am I allowed to do that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So on a book, I can have a no refund policy. So let's just because that was sold through a sales page.
Sure.
Now I have a $300 course they bought through a sales page. Can I have a no refund policy?
No.
Is it the money? What's the differentiating factor there?
You're selling merchandise generally doesn't have a 3-day right of rescission. So the book.
Oh, okay. It's physical.
It's physical, tangible product. If you go on Amazon, you buy a shirt, even though they may allow you to cancel and get your money back, they don't have to by law to do that.
Okay.
If you Nordstrom's, you buy a shirt, you go back and they don't by law have to give you your money back for the merchandise.
Okay. So if the book was digital, because there's a lot of people selling digital, so now all of a sudden, let me flip it. You bought this book, it's a digital book for $10. Do I have to give?
No, I think there's still a defense that it's a digital. There's a lot of books on whether it's Audible or you're doing it on, some sort of digital reader book or whatever. I think it still would qualify. If you go and you buy on Amazon.com and you buy a digital version or Kindle, you do that. They don't have to give a 3.
So I didn't read. I was researching this while we were writing the book, and ChatGPT told me. So is it $25 or $15? That's like a deciding factor as well. Like anything below that, there's no right of rescission to it. What's that?
They call that as attorneys, we like to use Latin terms to make us well done. So they call that a de minimis compensation. So a small amount. So if there's a book offer that's under a certain amount of money, then it's de minimis. You don't have to worry about the right of rescission.
So I guess because I was trying to differentiate between, you said book, but if I had a course that I sold, a low ticket course, like I have courses I sell that are low ticket that are $67, $47. Do I have to have a 3-day cooling off? Okay. All right. So unless it's very low priced and it's like a book, so basically 99% of the time, if I sold on a webinar, if I sold, because I had someone object, say, well, cooling off period doesn't apply to this because it was sold off of a sales page or a video or a webinar. It wasn't a one-on-one or it wasn't an in-person. You're just saying standard rule for your clients is that 3-day has to be there. There's minuscule situations in which it doesn't.
It's
And in some states, it's even more.
Yeah, it's an absolute defense. And the key with this is you may save some of those clients for the short term, but in the long term, they're not your core client that you want to build your business around.
Yeah.
So just get rid of them because it causes more problems than not with regulatory
Okay.
bodies or class action suits. Because you don't know what they're going to allege. They may allege you're a business opportunity. They may allege you're a SAMP. They may allege something in there that requires. So every state has different rules and different governing law that applies to consumer purchases. But when in this field, just understand that there's the highest amount of scrutiny than any other field. You're offering a product and service that's about information. And the information space is it also pertains to things like weight loss and dietary plans, supplements, and making money in some sort of other venture. There's just more scrutiny for that. So just stay safe. I get it. People are going to be like, I don't want to lose the volume of revenue, but you don't want to go through a class action either. That's worse than just doing it right. And to be honest, once you build that into your model and you're doing it, it doesn't affect you that much. It weeds out the bottom.
All right, so let's keep pulling this thread, and I want to talk about conditional refund policies. So we understand the law. The law says 3 days. Your perspective to your clients from the law perspective. But now let's say I come in, I sold a $300 course to a person. Actually, before I do that, sorry, I'm going to pause. How do you inform someone? Because you've told me this before, and I heard you say it earlier, that if you're not clear about the fact that they have that cooling off period, you're liable. Is that something I have to physically state? Can it be in the refund policy? Can it be in the contract? Like, where does it have to be written or stated that there is a 3-day cooling off period or that there's a cooling off period?
I put it in several places. If I have terms and conditions or terms of service for the landing page or the website, then in there I will talk about cancellations and I'll embed that in there. Not only that there is a 3-day right from the date they purchase, but the mechanism which they need to request the termination for that.
Okay.
Same thing for subscriptions. If you have a subscription and you're wanting to cancel that, I outline the rules of how they cancel the subscriptions in the terms of service as well. So in addition to that, you can't bury the right of rescission in a contract. In most states, it has to be right before where they sign. So a lot of my clients, what we do is we either have a place for them to initial or sign that designates that they've recognized and acknowledged it. Plus, if it's a telephone solicitation, I always have an oral conversation with the client. Hey, in addition to all the other rights you have here, kind of like a wind up portion of the call. Hey, understand this is what the onboarding process is going to look like. Just understand as you've purchased today. Hopefully you haven't bought this because of anybody's made promises or guarantee. Understand that we can't do that for you. In addition, as we do with all clients, you have 3 days to review the content of this. At any time in those 3 days, you can request a refund. It's all outlined in the mechanisms of how you do that in your contract, especially if you have contracts.
Pause. Nobody's doing this. I just know it.
My clients
well, your clients are. I didn't mean that, but I'm just like talking to everybody else who's not your client right now. I know for a freaking fact that on the call, when you're done and you close someone, you are not going over this. And that was where I was going. It was a trick question, and you went right to it. I was tricking not you, but the people. Is how do you, because most people would say what's in the contract. Has to be on the phone. If you sell them on the phone, you have to have a thing by your attorneys written that reads, for example, we hope you weren't, you weren't cajoled into it with claims and this, that. But by the way, you have 3 days. The other thing I caught that you said, Greg, I have bought so many services, so many consulting deals, I have never on a single contract ever initialed next to a 3-day right of rescission. I think for my car, maybe I have or something like that. I don't know. But no, never for any of these services I've bought. So if you're listening, boom, this is an action item right away that you need to take. And if you need Greg's help, then reach out to Greg. Or sign
here's
up
the
for our
reason.
audit and we'll
You're gonna
get
have
there.
people that are exactly like you, like, no way, I don't have to do that. On it, that's why I went and grabbed all those state-specific case law, all
Yeah.
the statutes, and I put it together. Because I get clients all the time, it's like, I don't have to do that. And then I show them the statute, like, this is where it says you have to do that. And they're like,
I I
nobody.
also like, Greg, it's a term you used earlier today. It's an absolute defense. So, is it legally required? Is it written in the law that it must be a initialed statement next to the signature contract? Probably not. But should you go out of your way? Is it maybe written in the law that it has to be auditorily told on a one-on-one call? I don't know. Maybe, Greg, it is. Maybe it isn't. But what Greg is saying is like, might as well throw it in there, because then they really cannot ever say even 5% that it wasn't covered, because it's literally there. It's present in many places, including auditorily on the call before they can transact with you. But man, there's so many people right now that are listening that need to pause this episode and go do
Well,
this.
and they're like, no way, I don't have to do this. And then I'll show them the law, and they're like, it's a serious misprint. That doesn't, like, it's not. Let me give you Utah, for example. Utah has a Telephone Fraud Prevention Act, right? It's a Telephone Communication Act. In the act itself, it says if you're calling into the state or calling out of the state to a third party, you have to disclose orally and in writing that they have 3 days to rescind the contract upon the day that they purchase. And that's not unique. There are several states. That's why I grabbed all the state-specific law. That's why we have it, because I know I'm going to get some marketer that's going to be like, I don't have to do that. And every time I
Not
do,
some,
the state,
most.
I send it to them, and I'm like, this is what the law. Well, why didn't anybody tell me that? Did you
Okay,
ask? You know, like,
so all the marketers right now that love going on saying we have a strict no refund policy in our company, that is a monumental violation of the law, correct? The minute they say that.
that is an absolute, that's what that Gondolas case did. They said it in the contract. No, all sales are final. They didn't have a 3-day right of rescission. And as soon as they
All right.
did, that's why they got the full asset freeze.
Okay, great. I'm so glad I asked that question because it was high on my list and I almost forgot. Okay, let's move on to talking about conditional. Oh, no. Let's move on to talk about this. So I know the 3 day is required. Greg, I'm your client. I have a $300 course I sell. And I come to you and I'm like, I don't care. I don't offer refunds post the 3 day cooling off period or the state demanded period. I don't do it. As what is your advice to them? So I get a refund request 30 days in. Clients like, I want my money back. I don't like this course. It's not for me, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, sorry, we don't offer anything past 3 days. As an attorney, what is your answer to everyone right now that's listening?
When I first started my practice, I was asked to become general counsel for a company, a publicly traded company, that the CEO, the prior CEO, not the current one when I was hired, took a stance that exactly what you're saying. 3-day right, after that, no refunds. They said no to everybody. Finally, they said no to a lady who, it was a $3,000 purchase for an e-commerce platform software. Said no to her. She got ticked off. She went on 2020 and she did a whole expose piece on this company.
Oh,
After
snap.
that, yeah, after that, 23 different states brought regulatory actions against this publicly traded company for violations of all the laws, because they were like, now they were following the 3-day right of rescission, right? But what they weren't following was good common sense. If I know, because as my role as general counsel, I changed the whole philosophy on how to deal with complaints. Anything after 3-day, I take as a case by case basis. I tell clients, if you're going to engage in this industry that's already under a tremendous amount of scrutiny already, then you need to be careful on how you engage with clients. And if you have clients that come day 4 and they're adamant and they're not going to be good fits, then take care of the client. Just get rid of them, right? But on a case by case basis, I'm not telling you you have to always give a refund, but I do have clients that if their clients come back for any reason at all, they're upset, they've built it into the model, they just refund the client because they don't want to have to do it. Now, I'm not saying everybody has to do that. They take what they call the Nordstrom's approach. Like, I buy a shirt at Nordstrom's 10 years ago. I come in, I want a new shirt. The Nordstrom's does that. It's the highest level of customer support in department store history, in my book. They do that because they have had zero regulatory problems and they're very super profitable because the number of people who come in and do that are so few and far between that they're able to just clean slate
Yeah.
it. Now,
Yeah.
everybody's like that. Not everybody has an offer like that. So then it goes to a case by case basis. If you have a very vocal client, like this example that I gave to you, if they had just refunded that lady, would they have 23 separate regulatory actions across the United States? I don't know. I don't know if they do. They made
Well,
an expose over her one because they said to this one lady, all sales final after 3 days.
yeah.
And
Let me.
so anyway,
Sorry, I was just gonna say. Let me add to that. So, I mean, the lady went straight to 2020. Like, kudos to her. Holy crap! But we teetered and tested this whole no refund policy thing for a year in our company way back. And so when I took it to the team, I was like, guys, I didn't mean like, if hell freezes over, don't issue a refund. But that's how my team took it. They're like, no. And so they would go back. It's like you'd get this story from someone that's like, I just got diagnosed with some health condition and I just bought it. And I'm like, too bad. And I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like, but I'm not there, right? I'm like, the support answers are like 6 levels below me. I'm not looking at them. Anyways, here's what we noticed. Sure, our refund rates dropped, but our chargeback rates went up. And guess what also went up? Complaints online, BBB complaints. And now I know this now, Greg, after working with you, even after I didn't even know this during my case. It came up on one of our podcast episodes where there's the Sentinel platform and BBB complaints are logged in it. And so a BBB complaint is basically an FTC complaint. So the most simple reason to offer refunds as most often as you can, because a portion of those you say no to are going to go complain into systems that eventually end up in the FTC or other regulators area. So like just cut off the complaining. So after the year test, we saw an increase in our BBB complaints. We saw an increase in chargebacks. And actually I read one of the BBB complaints and it was from someone who had this condition. And I'm like looking at them like, why would we not offer them a refund? What is? So I went into the system. I read the refund reply, and I lost my shit. I was like, what the hell? This is not. I should change everything and told the team. I said, okay, yeah. Anyways, here's an interesting question too. So it goes back on a webinar. Because I was doing webinars. What I did is I did not address the refund policy. I just didn't address it on the webinar. And then I just told my team, I said, we're going to take it case by case basis. But this 3-day right of decision, is it okay if it's on the cart page and it's there clearly on the cart page, or do I have to have a slide on my webinar that says you have 3 days to cancel?
now on a webinar where you're doing a direct to sell, it just has to be on the cart page.
Okay, got it. All right, so let's move now to conditional refund policies. This is the next big wave.
Or we
and
go
Yeah.
let me cover one important thing, and this is huge because it comes up in cases all the time, and I see that clients make a huge mistake on two things. On when they give refunds outside of the rescission period, when they go and they negotiate and they give money back to clients. Now, if you got a client that is canceling 5 days after they purchased, just cancel them. But you got a client that bought 2 months ago, I would have them sign a release. Now, why this is important is because you're getting them to waive all future and past liability in return for a full refund, because you're outside the legal requirement to give them a refund. And so you might as well just kill it so they don't come back and try to do a chargeback later. You've got that document that's there that says, no, we settled this credit card company. They don't get their money twice. And also a regulatory body gets involved because they later file a complaint. You can say, hey, listen, we resolved their concerns and they signed this and said they would withdraw all their complaints with the Better Business Bureau and everything else. Here's the key though. I love these agreements and I like to have them on every one. But if you ask for a non-disparagement clause in there, there's a dozen cases the FTC has brought in about these type of releases when they have non-disparagement clauses. You're going to take a positive, which is getting a full release, and turn it into a huge negative with the commission.
What's a disparagement? What does that mean?
We're going to settle with you, but you got to take down every negative post you've ever said about us, and you can never say anything bad about us again.
Got it.
And instead of doing that, what I do is I do something a little bit different. I put a confidentiality provision in my releases that says, hey, we're coming to a mutual settlement, just like I do in all my settlement cases, whether it's with a customer or another business or anything else. Hey, we're coming to terms. These are private terms between the parties. They keep this confidential. You don't need to blab this around the horn. And then I make a request when they have them sign the release. I'm not telling you to take down your complaint, but I am asking you, since we now have resolved this, that you will let anybody that you filed a complaint with know that we have satisfactorily resolved your concerns.
Okay.
And that does it, because what it does is the confidentiality provision does what you want it to do for non-disparagement. It says you can't just go and blab this to the world. It's confidential, but it doesn't open the risk of liability of doing non-disparagement, because the FTC sees that and they lose their ever-loving mind, because they think you're holding the client down, not letting them tell the world how bad a company you are. And
They looked for that in our case. They specifically
always,
asked
yeah.
for all signed agreements related to refunds, cancellations. Like they distinctly looked, and we didn't have that, thank God. But at that time, you had told me the same thing, that hey, if I had, they would have made a fuss about it. All right, so we've got about 10 minutes left, and I think the next two are gonna kind of feel like I know where you're gonna go with this. So, conditional refunds. Okay. For a minute, assume that the 3-day right of rescission is there, although it's not in most of these that I see. But this is the new craze on webinar marketers, especially, or even telesales, but webinar marketers especially.
I see it everywhere. I see it everywhere.
What's that? You see it everywhere. Yeah. So you can get a refund as long as you can show us that you completed the course, attended the calls, requested this, and danced around and hopped around on one toe, and you can prove it, we'll issue you a refund. So attorney's response, go.
So FTC hates it.
Okay.
Warranties and guarantees are governed by the Magnuson Act, which is a federal act, which means that the terms and conditions of a warranty have to be clearly disclosed to the consumer, that they understand what those terms are and the difficulty and the reasonableness of obtaining and meeting the terms and conditions when you make them. So and this comes up in a lot of cases. In the Zurich's case, Zurich's was a real estate training company out of Utah that was offering a triple your money back guarantee. So you came to a live 90-minute event, you paid $1,000 or so to attend a 3-day workshop where they would teach you how to do real estate transactions. Their guarantee was, if within 90 days of paying that $1,000, you're not able to triple your money back, we will give you a refund of the $1,000. The FTC brought that in their complaint, and they scrutinized it because they said, exponentially, you sold, because of this warranty, you sold 10,000 more people. I don't know the number, but say it's 10,000 more people than you would have if you didn't have it. And you only gave a minimal amount of people their money back. So they used the warranty as a sales mechanism to get more people to buy, with the idea that, hey, if you're not happy with this and you do these 3 things, you're just going to get your money back in a day anyway. So what's the risk? But the problem with that is that the FTC looks at that as a deceptive bait and switch tactic. You're getting people in the door. They don't truly understand the difficult nature of what you're asking to do, because most people don't do it, or they don't qualify for the conditions that you've set out, even though you make it seem like it's easy. Hey, all you have to do is attend 80% of these courses. All you have to do is do X, Y, and Z, and it's fine. But really, in the back of your mind that 90% of your clients are never going to do that anyway. So it's like you're offering them, and then you say it like this: hey, this is risk-free. What risk do you have? We got an extra warranty on this, right? You know that because I say it, because you've heard.
Why is it every time you say marketing, it sounds horrific? I say this on every episode with you.
Sorry.
It's like when you say it, it sounds like it's evil. But I hear you. You're right. I mean, that's why the conditions are there. The marketers put them there because they know that most people will never qualify. Let's just be honest, guys. If you're a marketer, come on, right? You know that if you're offering, you have to finish the course, you have to attend 80% of the calls. Nobody attends 80% of the calls. They don't even attend 10% of the calls. And you know that you have to request this, you have to do this, you're doing the conditions on purpose because You want to be able to tell them they don't qualify for a refund, but you want to be able to say you have a refund policy. So it's deceptive. It's malintentioned, and it's, you know.
FTC looks at it that way. So where I go lately with a lot of my clients that want to give some sort of warranty to get people in the door and kind of keep them there, a lot of my clients are doing two main things. One of the things they're doing, because we talk about a lot of things you shouldn't do. Let me tell you a couple of things that I think has worked really well for clients.
Yeah.
They do a 30-day satisfaction guarantee or warranty. If after 30 days of doing this, you don't like what you've seen, we'll give you your money back. It does what you think it does, which is more people are going to enter in the offer, but it's so clear that they understand what it is. And when they ask for their money back, you can have a conversation again. You can see but if they're really pressed, you just give them your money back. And it does a lot of what you're trying to do with that conditional warranty or guarantee that you're doing. The second thing that a lot of my clients do, they do a satisfaction warranty. After 6 weeks of your training or 6 months or whatever it is, you're still not satisfied, we'll extend your training for an additional 6 months or 6 weeks or 6 months or whatever it is to see if you're happy. And if after that time you're not, we'll have a conversation about a refund. But it's never an absolute, like, if you're not happy, you're going to get your money back after 6 months if you meet X, Y, and Z. It's just, we're going to extend your service. We're going to double the time of your service to make sure that you're happy. We want all of our clients to be happy. We have a satisfaction warranty. Listen, if you don't cancel outside your 3-day, we'll look at it on a case-to-case basis. But if you aren't happy with what you've got over the first 6 weeks or 6 months, we'll extend it for another 6 weeks or 6 months or whatever it is. And that works really well because
I like that.
it's not, and it works. It's kind of because what your goal is you want people to have the stick rate, right? The retention.
Yeah.
But the problem is you've been trained, marketers have been trained. It's got to be something like, if you don't convert 50 leads in the first 30 days, we'll give you your money back. Well, what if they don't do anything in the first? And then there are terms, but they don't really disclose those terms. And then they get mad. And then people complain. I would say the most venomous complaints that I've seen recently have to be about a conditional guarantee that the client didn't meet because they didn't understand. They just thought all they had to do is ask for their money back and they didn't get it. And so I'm not a big fan of that because it's too hard and companies don't use it right and the FTC hates it. But there's other ways to get the clients to feel comfortable and relaxed without bait and switching them, just so they understand exactly what it is. It's either 30 days, you can look at this, or hey, we're not going to give you your money back, but we'll give you double the time of service. Something like, and it works really well.
I like that second one. That was really good. I mean, obviously the 30-day money back, like, that's a conventional, typical thing, but like the second one there was really good. So last few minutes left here. I want to respect your time. Interesting trend we're seeing is this. I think you've kind of addressed it, but it's happening a lot with the agencies. So if we don't get you 50 leads a month, you don't pay.
Right.
I find this is happening a lot. I mean, it's like every third ad I'm seeing is this. And the thing is, you have to pay. Like, I have to hire you. So that's their way of saying, we'll give you your money back. So someone will argue, well, what if I really am? What if every one of my clients that I'm servicing that doesn't get 50 leads in their first month, I give them their money back? Does that make it okay to say that if you truly are and you have a track record of it? I know they're not. I'm giving you a fictitious scenario. I'm just curious that, let's say they really were. Because you mentioned the biggest issue with the Zurich's case was that they didn't really have a track record of actually having refunded many people. In this case, would it work?
Be hard. I mean, it just depends. I'd have to see the context in which you were trying to.
Okay. But for the most part, right out the gate, if all you saw is the ad, you don't know the specifics, you're calling bullshit on it and saying, if I don't get you 50 leads a month, you don't pay. It's like, because my biggest issue with that data is I find it's misleading because I have to pay you even to engage your services. So what the hell?
And are they proactively coming back when they haven't gotten 50 leads and then refunding the money? Or are they waiting for the client to notify them? Like, oh, hey, we didn't get 50 leads because how many of the clients are coming back and really monitoring that? And maybe they're not. And they're like, No, I want my money back on this. So we
Yeah.
get leads as attorneys, we get leads, we get hit. I mean, we're just like your clients. We get hit with marketing companies saying, "Hey, come and join Westlaw," which is like a big, legal resource center for attorneys, or LexisNexis, which is another one, and we'll help you find, or we'll get these, hey, legalreview.com, and we'll send you X number of leads per month for this. And we get hit up with that all the time too. And they'll
Mm,
try to come in and guarantee stuff like this, but when it doesn't happen, most of the time on those, they kind of back off. But in this field, what you are doing, my guess is you're not backing off. If you don't meet
yeah.
the 50 leads, you're not proactively going to the client saying, "Oh, guess what? We didn't meet our goal this month, and you don't get a pay next month." No, what's happening is you don't say a thing. And then
Yeah.
they
Okay.
and
So on the up and up, guys, don't do it. You're seeing it all over the place. I know there are a couple of big marketers that have been teaching it. Hate to tell you, it's not legal. It's not. Well, and there might not be a specific law against it, but it's frowned upon heavily. And what you're going to do is when you make a statement like that, you've just literally perked ears. You've put yourself out there because you're on a Facebook ad, you're out there public, and you've just asked someone to come look deeper
yeah.
into your stuff. So, all right. With that said, that was that. Thank you, Greg. That was for me also very educational because I've not been able to answer this question for people, and a lot of people have asked about it. Guys, go listen to all the other episodes. I'm telling you, there's a wealth of knowledge here. I am grabbing tens of thousands of dollars, in my opinion, of legal fees out of Craig right now for free. So go listen to these episodes. And of course, don'tsaysthat.com for the other episodes for this book. When it comes out, get on the alert list of the book. And naoac.com/audit. The link is the first link on the description below on the YouTube. Go, if you're doing $500,000 a year or more in revenue, then go fill it out. Let's talk and let's see if we can quickly review your stuff, and then we'll be happy to give you a custom proposal for a full-blown audit as well. And having said that, lots more going on in the world of compliance. We're going to be bringing to your doorstep here soon. Greg, as always, thanks, my friend. And to the rest of you guys, peace. See you later.